Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Erin Elizabeth Wamberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you are new here. Today we have a new moon in Virgo. So for new moon energy, today's tarot reading, I'm going to be reading the cards in that way in terms of like new energy, things you want to call in, new things you want to have happen. Just looking at like how we can open ourselves up to these new things we want to move into our lives. Okay, I have 3 groups for you today. You can pick group 1, group 2, or group 3. You can pick by the card you can see, by the number, by the sound of my voice, whatever resonates. And when you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you at the reading that you chose. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 1. So as a reminder, this is a new moon reading, so I will be reading the cards in that way in terms of newness, letting things into our lives, all of that. Okay, so you all picked the Archangel Metatron for your card. So I am united with the source of all goodness, love, and creativity. So yeah, that's a good affirmation. It's a good reminder for all of us. So sometimes I feel like for group 1, for you guys, sometimes when we are like working through something, or we're trying to figure something out, or it can be like obstacles are the way we need to go. Sometimes things can be challenging. Hardship is part of life. Sometimes things are not like this crystal clear, perfect, okay, it was like this, so now it's like this, or this thing happened, so now this thing is happening, right? Like there's a lot of times where we can feel disconnected from God because things aren't happening how we want them to be happening in 3D reality. And this is just a reminder with Archangel Metatron. I am united with the source of all goodness, love, and creativity, which is God, okay, higher power, whatever language you use for it. So just remembering, like, when we feel disconnected, when we feel like something isn't working out for us, like, we moved, we went far away from God. God doesn't move. God stays there. God is clear. God is present. And so for us to remember that, like, okay, if God's not leaving me, I'm leaving God. What's going on here with all of this? So with this new moon, I feel like maybe if there's a situation or something going on where you kind of feel the opposite of these things, so you feel like bad, you feel hate, you feel blocked, you feel uncreative, right? Just remembering, like, okay, I can feel these things, but I know that that's not permanent. This isn't who I am. This isn't like the end of the world. This isn't the limit of my life. It's not. God is there. God always makes a way. God always moves things for us. And even if things don't go the way we want, it's just remembering, like, so much of discomfort is learning for us how to self-soothe, and so much of God's plan for us is learning how to again, self-soothe and nourish ourselves and stay connected to that God energy, instead of being like, okay, these exact things need to happen for me to know that God is there, right? So much of this is just remembering, like, God isn't like this fearful like thing in the sky to smite us, right? So much of these things is for us to develop faith and develop trust in ourselves, and just feel like confident and clear that God is the source of faith and love and goodness, love, and creativity. And just remembering, like, when we feel disconnected or we feel blocked from it, it's like, okay, that's not up to us. It's just up to us to extend that, and then know that, like, God always does for us what we can't do for ourselves. So with this new moon, if you've been feeling a little bit of that energy of just like, I don't feel like there's goodness, love, and creativity in my life, it's just like asking God, like, can you please show me where it is? Can you please help me reconnect to that? Can you please help me feel more confident and trusting that that is here, even though I can't like see it anywhere, or trusting that it didn't, go away. If I'm just like in hibernation from those things, then I will be able to connect to them again. And these things like come out to so they can clear out, right? It's not forever. It's just, this too shall pass. This isn't punishment. This is just part of the human experience. So I think just giving yourself a little bit of love and care, and give yourself a hug. You can call on your angel, you can call on Archangel Metatron specifically, or just ask, always ask for help from the other side. We don't do that far enough as humans. We get in our own head, or we think I have to do this by myself, or all these other 8 million stories. So starting with that. Okay, so for your tarot, we have the Magician, 4 of Pentacles, oh my God, 7 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles, a lot of Pentacles. Okay, Justice, and then the Lovers. So if you are an earth sign, we got 3 Pentacles here going on here: 4 of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles, and 8 of Pentacles. So if you're an earth sign, that you're here, or there's some earth in your chart. If not, don't worry about it too much, Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. But yeah, 3 Pentacles and 3 major arcana. So I feel like this group group one, there's some stuff going on here about like, you know, just needing to feel grounded, needing to feel connected, just feeling maybe out of control, or like, you know, things aren't working out for me. I don't know what to do. I can't do this. I can't whatever. I see a lot of that in the cards, but okay, let's get into it. So first we have the Magician into the Four of Pentacles. So I feel like here, this to me really feels like, you know, this is a really beautiful affirmation to start your reading again. Like, I'm united with the source of all goodness, create love and creativity. So this feels like there's a big block here. Okay. This feels like, you know, you have this vision, or you're like, I want to do this, I want to grow in this way, I want this thing to happen, I want to, you know, grow and expand in this way, I want this thing to come true for me, I want whatever, you know. But then we have this Four of Pentacles, which is just like total blockage, shut down, heart chakra, okay, whatever. And so I am not into victim blaming, law of attraction stuff at all. I don't support that at all. So, you know, it's not that you're not manifesting hard enough, or doing your vision board hard enough, or your visualization hard enough. Okay, God always says when, not us. Like, we can ask as much as we want, we can do all of our stuff, we can do all this, but it doesn't mean that we, you know, okay, I did this, so I get this. Like, we're not in, God is in charge, not us. So, but I feel like I feel some frustration here of just like, you know, this Magician energy of like, okay, I'm putting in the work, I'm putting my time in, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing that, I'm doing like, you know, all these things. It's like, but it just feels like stuff isn't happening. And that, so it's like this cycle, right? And then that's feeding into this thing of like, well, it's not happening, so I'm going to close my heart, and I'm going to be mad, and I'm going to be over here, and I'm going to take my ball and go home, you know, like I'm going to be really upset about all these things. So this energy to me is really just a reminder that, like, you know, sometimes it's like, are you basing your worth on, you know, okay, I did everything perfectly, but what I want still isn't here, so I'm going to be mad, instead of focusing on like, okay, the process and the journey and my connection to God is just as important as whatever thing I want to have come into my life. And there's so many things that we think we know we want something, and then we're like totally wrong, and what God brings us is so much better, or the timing is so much better, or, you know, whatever. So this Magician into the Four of Pentacles to me is really just about remembering that, like, we are in charge of what we're in charge of, and we can only control what we can control, but God is in charge more than us. And so I think what we're really seeing here is like, I just want you to, I mean, do whatever you want, but the guidance I'm getting for you is to, you know, loosen up your heart chakra a little bit and let these things go, and don't take it so personally. And just like, you know, like, yeah, don't take it personally. Just remember, like, you're not being punished. Like, God is loving and kind and gentle. And if you really believe that is true, then like this narrative of like, I'm being punished, like can't coexist with that. I mean, so you pick one or the other, right? You can pick that you're being punished, or you can pick that like God is loving and gentle and kind and trying to be there for you. Because look at this, center of your reading, Seven of Pentacles and Eight of Pentacles. So I feel like this is, again, just taking like some time to regroup and keep going at it, right? So I feel like here we have, you know, I'm closed off, I'm not doing anything, I don't want to engage with this, I don't want to whatever, right? This doesn't feel good, I don't want to do it, I don't want to, okay. And so this Four of Pentacles is just a reminder, like, to kind of let that go, and, you know, don't be so on the defensive. Like, just see if you can soften it with this new moon, to say like, God, can you please help me relax into my life? Can you please help me accept? Can you please help me, you know, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But looking at that, because we have the Seven of Pentacles right into the Eight of Pentacles. So this is like taking a step back, and, you know, just, and this is a beautiful progression. We have 4 into 7 into 8. And so I feel like this is really just taking a moment to be like, okay, how many blessings do I have, right? And blessings can also be things that like we're not dealing with, right? So what's something that I was dealing with that I'm not dealing with anymore? Or what's something that I never had to deal with? You know, it doesn't have to be like, we can get so focused on like, where's this thing, or I want it right now, or I've been doing this thing, so why isn't it here yet, that we forget all the many ways that we have all these blessings, and these things are showing up for us. And so I think this Seven of Pentacles, just take a moment, you know, unblock your heart chakra, try to open it up in a safe space, in a way you feel like comfortable and calm. And instead, just really looking at this Seven of Pentacles of just like, okay, how can I take stock? How can I take inventory? How can I look at this in a way that is like loving and caring and gentle and kind to me, instead of, you know, just like this is very different energy than this, right? This is very much like, I'm on the defense, nothing can, I don't want to let anything in, I don't want to do this, you know, I'm blocked, I'm shut down, like really protective energy. And this is more just like, okay, taking inventory, taking stock. Let me take a minute to breathe, let me look at all this stuff I have, let me, you know. And even in this card, right, he's got the pentacle in front of his chest, and he's standing on 2 of them. There's one on his head, so he can't even look at any of his blessings, okay, right? And in here, like, here they all are. Let me look at them. Let me take stock. Let me take inventory. Let me understand where these things are coming from, and just instead of trying to be like, oh, this, and this is so harmful, or I can't believe this happened, or I can't, whatever. Just taking a minute, take a reflective pause, look at what you've done, look at the work you've put in, look at how these other things have been orchestrated by God, like clearly in your life, and just doing that. And then, getting back to it, just slow and steady wins the race. There is a lot of this, like, I feel like this, what I'm also getting with this magician into this is like moving away from like the overnight success thing, or like, well, I asked for it, so where is it? Success is overnight because it's over one night, but there's a million nights that lead up to that, right? It's not just like, okay, I did it for one day and I did it. So this is just remembering, like, Eight of Pentacles to me is really about like honoring the slow and steady process of things, like the mundane, boring, tedious, like, okay, I did this, so now I have to do that. Okay, I have to go for a walk every day. I have to feed my body like nourishing food every day. I have to do my meditation or prayer practice every day, right? And so kind of looking at that and just saying, okay, like, slow and steady. This is, the miracles really are in this mundane, these things that we have to do over and over again in order for us to show up for ourselves and feel like clear and connected and committed. And so I think for group one with this new moon, especially because it's in Virgo, and again, this earth sign energy, big time with all these pentacles, okay, if you are really feeling like, okay, back to basics, here we go, what am I going to do? How am I going to do, just a lot of these like slow, repetitive behaviors, like that's really where change comes in, is like, these qualities that they might seem small, but doing them over and over and over again, like really adds up and really makes a difference in our lives. Because then we have justice, so this is really beautiful. So this is about like things coming into balance again, of course. And I also think that this is, even if your physical reality doesn't change immediately or how you want, I think this card is there's just going to be feelings of relief, because it's like you're showing up for yourself and you're doing these things that, like, again, these like repetitive behaviors of taking care of ourselves, they over time add up and give us like a lot of healing energy, right? It's not just like, okay, I did this thing once and now I'm healed, I feel better, all of that, right? This card is really about trusting that once we start doing these things, and then you'll feel more justice and peace, because it's not just like, where is this? I asked for it, make it show up, right? This is like, okay, I'm doing my part. And the saying, like, self-esteem comes from esteemable acts. And so the more you show up for yourself, the more you take care of yourself, even when you don't want to, even when it doesn't feel good, right? All those things add up. And that's what makes you feel like justice is, I shouldn't say being served, but okay, being served to you. So justice is just there for us, and it's there for us to connect to, and it's there for us to feel comfortable, and it's there for us to be like, okay, these are these things that are adding up and do add up, and just making sure, when you do these things, like, again, you put in this tedious work, these things that are so like a little slow, but they're all worth it, right? And again, that feeling of justice, that feeling of like, remembering all of these things are worth it to get to the other side. And then we have the Lovers closing your reading. So I feel like if you are in a romantic relationship, maybe finding some balance there might come out if you, again, go back to the basics and do these things. But because I like to do these readings more about focusing on you, I think it's very distracting if we're just always focused on someone else, what they're doing, all this stuff. Okay, to me, when the Lovers comes out in like these individual readings, it really represents to me like balancing your masculine and feminine energies and doing a recheck within that. And so masculine and feminine energy has nothing to do with your gender identity or your gender presentation. It's just inside us, we have masculine and feminine energies. So everyone has this. Masculine energies are like being aggressive, going to make it happen, being assertive, setting boundaries, like this really go, 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 do energy. Then feminine energy is more about like being still, receiving, letting things unfold in their own time. And so we have to have a balance with that. And there's times in our lives where we need to, and different even situations throughout the day where we need to be more feminine or we need to be more masculine. And so I feel like if you've been feeling out of control with, like, okay, what's happening? I think this is just, again, a check-in and a reminder to say, okay, am I like trying to force something when I need to be like, am I trying to be super masculine and controlling about it when I need to be more feminine and just like letting things go? Or am I being more feminine where I've been more passive and not making something happen when I know I could be taking this, and this action? So this is just a reminder, when we're looking at, this is obviously a card that looks at like doing something. Remember that doing something can be praying, can be surrendering, can be turning it over to God, can be, asking for patience, all of this stuff. So all of this is right here. And so this card, again, is just a reminder that like you you can find balance between these things, and it is going to add up and make you feel more balanced out. It's just if we get too far, if we, if we're too feminine in every single aspect of our lives, then we feel like, people are taking advantage of us, or we don't have a say, or we don't have a voice, or we're not setting boundaries, right? Then if we're too masculine, we're trying to control everything and push stuff and be too aggressive and too assertive, right? Then there's no like softness in our lives. So just really rechecking in with that balance with that, and knowing that, again, you can create a lot of the balance here on this justice card when you do have some of that energy into a little bit more balance, how you need it in your life. And there's going to be times in your life where you do need to have more of one or the other energy, or you do need to have, whatever's going on for you. Try not to judge that. Just trust what feels good for you. There's no right answers. Only what feels the best for you, what works for you. But just trying to, again, find that balance of like, okay, what can I control? What can't I control? And how can I, add a little bit more of these things into my life? Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards now. Okay, so which one do I want to start with? So, okay, so I have take a break. So a life's work, not a season, get off the treadmill. So I know that's what it's like, it might seem like counterintuitive to what I was just saying of like, put in the work, do this stuff. Okay. But I feel like this is more saying, take a break from like forcing the bigger picture. What I'm getting a lot from this reading is like going back to the basics, reconnecting to God, doing these like, again, mundane, quote unquote, mundane, boring, tedious thing, like stop trying to force the bigger picture. Stop trying to be like, okay, where's this thing I'm putting all my work in? This is like the job I want, or the partnership I want, or the house I want, or this thing I want, or whatever. Right. So like, stop trying to, force that. And I feel like this is saying like, bring it back down, just do your day-to-day things. Like God's making life flow together. These things are going to work themselves out, right? You don't like, just being in the process doesn't mean the process isn't happening. Okay. So take a break. I think that's really, again, more of this energy of like taking your hands off something, letting God do God's part and us doing our part, and going from there. Because we have grow deep roots. So again, a lot of times when we're waiting, like the process is so important for us to develop things for when the blessing arrives. So grow deep roots, this could mean, a lot of these like these skills that we know how to soothe ourselves, connect to ourselves, like manage ourselves, and like have a lot of this energy over and over again. That's going to help us so much through all these seasons of life. So maybe you're in a phase where you're learning, okay, this is every single day I know I need to do, these 3 self-care things. And if I don't do them, then my energy feels off. So grow deep roots is really, trusting that like, the roots have to grow down just as much as up to be able to like grow and expand in these new ways in your life. Because we have the Magi. So this is interesting. It's like the magician. Okay. So I think, but this is more energy about like seeing through illusions and remembering like, just physical reality isn't the only thing going on, right? There's so many, all these other realms, like everything's energy before it's in physical reality. And there's so many like other things that are lining up or not lining up or doing this or doing that, or, there's just so many things going on at once. And the Magi is just a reminder that, you can tap into that, and you can trust, even if you don't know what it is, you can trust that something is happening beyond your control for a reason. And like, there's these invisible things getting sorted out that you can't see. And just remembering like, you can tap into that energy, so this eye energy of seeing, of trusting, of, even having the hand open to receive, of just remembering like, again, there's things going on that we don't know about all the time, and it doesn't mean we're being punished. It just means that like, can you tap into that? Can you tap like, well, what could be happening? What's the possibility here? How am I being protected? How are my prayers being answered? How could this be a blessing? Right? Again, believing that God is like gentle and kind and loving instead of like this punishing force. With this Magi energy, you can really like tap into that and hold that energy for yourself. So then we have preserve. So again, I feel like this is just a reminder of preserving your own energy and just, preserving your own heart, protecting yourself, and just knowing like, okay, sometimes we're given like, you're going to exhaust yourself, like being on protective mode all the time. Right. So just trying to like soothe yourself and figure things out and do all of that and just show up for your way in like a way that is protective and preserving and focused on yourself instead of, trying to do all these other things all at once. And then we have this one, I let go of the shadow of the past by seeing someone for the first time with the eyes of love. guess what? That could be you, okay? You can see yourself for the first time with eyes of love. So just a reminder that you can tell a new story about yourself. You can ease up on yourself whenever you want, right? Going through a hard time isn't ammunition against yourself, and it's not permission for you to like, beat yourself up even more when you feel ashamed. Like adding shame to that, easier said than done, I know, but adding more shame to that isn't actually going to help you long term or make you feel better or, all of that. It's just going to be a continuous cycle that goes nowhere. So you can let go of the shadow past. You can see yourself for the first time with eyes of love again as you find balance with yourself and just say like, I love myself. This too shall pass. God is here. God is going to get me through it. God loves me. God's taking care of me. Okay, all of that energy. And so remembering like you don't need to be harmful or negative to yourself once you realize you're doing it. You can see someone, aka yourself, for the first time with the eyes of love. Or, okay, one little message I'm getting, if you are in a relationship or there is some romantic something going on here, just kind of like stop vilifying that person. And just, remembering like when we feel upset, it's really easy for us to put a lot of that upset energy onto like our romantic intimate relationships because we're very vulnerable there. But trying not to do that, obviously will help you and the other person and therefore the relationship, if that's where it goes. Okay, and I'm going to pick one affirmation card for you to close group one. I am peaceful. Very nice. So again, I feel like this is just the energy, and this is really interesting. Look, it's like similar imagery to this, but I think it's again showing the opposite of just like this really energy of like protect, block myself, this, versus, I'm peaceful. I can, and even timing, like this is God's time. It's not my time. I can relax. I can let go. I can breathe. I can take my hands off it. I can trust God. I can trust that things are unfolding and being taken care of how they need to. I am peaceful. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. That's everything I have for you. If you ever want any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 2. So as a reminder, this is a new moon reading, so I'll be reading the cards in that way, just in terms of thinking about new patterns or ways you can think about allowing some new energy into your life. Okay, so you all picked the card, the Angel of Freedom. I am always free to choose love, independence, and creativity. So this is a really beautiful card, a really good reminder that on some level we always have a choice. Okay, and I have a lot of things to say about that. Okay, so the first thing is we don't have a choice of what happens to us a lot of the time. Okay, and then we also, people can be like, well, you have a choice how you react or how you respond or how you think about it or whatever. And like, okay, that sounds fine in person, but if you have trauma or old patterns or whatever, all these other things that are going on, if you have all of that energy, then sometimes we can't control how we react to something, right? Sometimes it's a pattern that we're working through. We're trying to unleash, we're trying to whatever, right? We're trying to unleash, I said, release or unlearn, okay? And so sometimes the only choice we have is I can be kind and gentle to myself while I'm going through this particular thing, or I don't have to judge myself just because I'm going through this particular thing, or I don't have to, whatever. So this is just a reminder that I'm always free to choose love, independence, and creativity. So this is a reminder that if you are going through a hard time, or if you're, moving along your little path and it's taken a little longer than you would have liked, or, any and all of those things, like you don't have to be mean to yourself. You have the freedom to be kind, to be loving, to be aware, be gentle to yourself in ways that like you, you don't need to add fuel to the fire. You don't need to be more mean to yourself. You don't need to be like, all these other things, where you're like you don't need to add to that, right? You can choose to be kind even if you're, trying to work through a pattern, or you feel out of control, or you feel crazy, or if you feel like, this thing isn't happening fast enough or whatever. You can still choose to show up to yourself with like loving, kind, graceful, soothing energy, right? You don't need to go into the shame spiral of how you're actually feeling and then add more to it. And so that's just the level of freedom there. It's so maybe it's not that like you can totally stop having these intrusive thoughts, or you can stop, you can't make yourself learn the lesson faster, but you can choose to not be mean and hard on yourself, right? There's always a level of choice of how we can choose to be like kind and loving and soothing to ourselves. So group 2, just remembering like on some level, there's always there's always choice on some level, right? And again, it doesn't mean you have to be like, I love that this horrible thing is happening to me, right? That it's more around this horrible thing's happening to me, and I'm going to choose to be loving and kind to myself, like regardless that this situation's happening. And you don't need to minimize what you're feeling. You don't need to do all of that. You just can remember, you can choose to be loving and kind to yourself. You don't have to say anything harmful to yourself. You don't need to downplay anything, right? It's just about being kind and loving to yourself with all of these things. Okay, and so I'm going to start with your tarot, and then we'll look at your oracle cards. Okay, so we have the Two of Wands, and then we have Four of Swords, then we have the Emperor, and then we have Ace of Swords, then we have Five of Cups, and then Two of Pentacles. Okay, so I just want to say, group 2, the big message I'm getting is, again, with this Angel of Freedom, like you have more choice in whatever's going on in your life than you think you do. Okay, it feels like a lot of, because your reading is bookmarked with both of these, Two of Wands and Two of Pentacles, which is about like weighing choices, making decisions, being thoughtful, thinking about what do I want to do, what do I want to have happen here. Okay, so these two together are just reminding me, or showing me that, like, there is a level of choice here, even if it doesn't feel like it. And sometimes we can be we can be disconnected from the choices we have. And again, that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm just gonna say an affirmation and suddenly I feel better, right? Sometimes the choice is just acceptance. The choice is being kind to ourselves. The choice is like, stop fighting, stop resisting, and again, it doesn't make everything like immediately better with all of that. But again, I feel like group 2, there's just a lot of like, we can feel, we don't have to add to that like harshness to ourselves when we're going through a hard or a difficult time. Okay, so I feel like here, group 2, starting your reading, this Two of Wands into the Four of Swords. To me, this is just really energy of like, there's something where you're like reevaluating, taking stock, checking in. I think, this card to me, because the person has the world in their hands, it's more about like looking at your own internal world. So how do I act? How do I want to act? How do I show up in the world? What's important to me? How do I spend my time? How am I respecting myself? Am I doing whatever? All of these things are part of the situation and adding up. And then this Four of Swords is really thinking about, okay, you have to really go inward to know yourself. You have to really go inward to know your guidance. You have to really go inward to really like get clear about like what is working for me, what isn't working for me, what is helpful for me, what is not helpful for me. Okay, so these things here, so this Two of Wands into the Four of Swords, I feel like with this decision making, it's really a lot of internal questioning, connecting with yourself, meditating, praying, all of that adding up and trusting it. And just really knowing that the answers will come from within. And I love, this, this person's got some prayer hands going on, which we love and support here. Okay, and so sometimes we think, oh, I prayed once, so where's the answer, right? There's this thing where sometimes we get answers just like at a little bit at a time. Sometimes we don't get all the guidance at once. We don't get all the information at once. We don't get like everything we need to move forward or to feel confident or to feel like totally like, okay, yes, this is the exact thing I want to do, right? Sometimes it's just one thing at a time. And we just get one step at a time instead of like the full guidance. So I think this is, to me, really saying like, really go inward and really give yourself as much as you can. Okay, sometimes, we have to make a decision based on physical reality, but if you can give yourself, if you don't have to decide right away, if you can give yourself some time, space, patience, all of that, if you can do that, then, all of this really can add up, and you can be, sometimes only a little is revealed to us at once, and all we can do is take that step, and then those steps add up. So this, to me, this Two of Wands into the Four of Swords is really about just trusting that your decision-making process, like it's in God's perfect timing and God's perfect unfolding and all of that. And so these things are really just about knowing that sometimes decision-making, sometimes we don't have the full guidance, and it's a process of discovering and learning and getting clear, and not just being like, okay, it happened once, the end, I know everything that's going to happen about that. Okay, so these two to me are really about like pausing to go inward for answers and really pausing for guidance and just doing what you can in the meantime. Because look at this, then we have the Emperor into the Ace of Swords. So the Emperor is really about like mastery. It's like you get to this like final level of existing, of understanding, and remembering that again, like this Emperor energy is really about like like just you've done what you needed to do, and so you can feel accomplished. And so I think this leading into the Emperor energy is really like, okay, if I just keep asking for guidance, if I keep showing up, if I keep praying, if I keep meditating, like you're gonna develop this mastery and you're gonna develop this ability to understand, like, when you're compassionate to yourself, when you're kind to yourself, then that creates an energy of safety within yourself, and then you are able to move forward more and more. And from there, we have like this level of mastery, and it just like all adds up one thing at a time. It all slowly adds up with all these things. And so again, this Emperor energy is about like, someone who has done the work, someone who has turned inward, someone who has gotten clear with themselves. And then this Ace of Swords is, some boundary work, right? This is like around getting clear. The Emperor, I feel like, is going to be this mastery of like, oh, okay, that was my guidance. Okay, this finally added up. Okay, I finally see what I was supposed to do in these particular situations, doing this, this, and this thing. Okay, and so once you know that, and the Emperor to me in this situation, I'm feeling is more of like the self-mastery of like listening to yourself, trusting yourself, like just even opening up that channel for guidance. And once you do that and you have this Ace of Swords energy, that's really about like, knowing, okay, I did this, this, and this. And so here's my boundary I'm setting, and I know how to move forward, and I know what I want, and I know what's going on, right? This Ace of Swords is like new, clean, fresh rebirth energy, and just like, swords are about boundaries, like crystal clear, like this is what I'm doing, this is what's happening, this is what's coming up for me. And just really, trusting that and knowing it, and trusting that once you tap into this like well of knowledge and understanding and connection within yourself, then you're guided to, these are my boundaries, these are what I want, these are what I don't want. Okay. Going on with that. And then we have the Five of Cups. So this is just, again, a reminder that when we do these things, like sometimes they don't always feel the best. So what I'm hearing with this card is like, if some sadness comes up, or if like, when you do have to turn inward, make a decision, become a new person, right? Sometimes we have to mourn letting go of who we were, or letting go of these things we used to do, or these things that used to be part of our life, or, whatever. And we have to let that go and instead turn inward and just be like, okay, I'm letting go of these things. And even when it's the right choice, letting something go or choosing not to be a certain way, it's still sad, because that was part of us. That was part of our life. That was part of who we were. And so if you're feeling some of this, like, oh, I can't move forward, I can't make the choice, I can't make the decision because I'm so sad. It's just, I'm hearing just like, let yourself have that process, and let yourself, know that like sometimes it's hard for us to, we can't like completely change overnight, because we want to let go of these things that we've energetically been attached to, that have been part of our life, that have been doing that. So I think this card is just saying, if you get this like level of mastery, and then you move forward and you're like, okay, these are the boundaries I want, these are the things I want to do, I don't want to do, this is how I want to live my life, these are things that feel in alignment to me, right? If you do all of that, then this Five of Cups is really just a reminder that like the sadness that comes up, the grief, the moving on, the whatever, this is just a reminder that that's totally normal and it's okay. And grief and mourning still comes up even when we can feel upset, or we can feel like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me, or I can't believe this is my choice, or I can't believe this is where I'm going, right? Like, even if it's the right choice, like going out of your comfort zone and expanding, still, there can still be some sadness there. So I think just really, again, trusting that, and trusting that, it doesn't mean it's the wrong choice, just if some like confusion, or I'm not sure what's going on, or I have to mourn this thing, even, this former me that I used to be that I'm letting go of, doesn't mean you're doing something wrong if that happens. It's just, again, part of the process. And then closing your reading with the Two of Pentacles. Again, like really interesting that we have Two of Wands and Two of Pentacles at both ends. But the message I'm getting with this is like, this Two of Wands was more about like contemplative thinking, and where do I want to go? How do I want to be? What do I want to grow into? And then this Two of Pentacles, Pentacles is more earth energy. It's more like physical reality energy. And so I feel like with this Two of Pentacles, once you go through this process and you let yourself do that, there's going to be more choice here for you to think about, oh, I have so many choices. Like I can choose this or this thing now, right? Whereas this was just more like the mind deciding certain things. And then Two of Pentacles is more energy of like, oh, actually, like I can do this thing, or I can have that particular thing, or I can, whatever, right? So this to me is really just about acknowledging that, sometimes like you will have more physical reality choices when you've opened yourself up energetically to certain things. So this doesn't mean that you like um you completely ignore everything or you make a choice right away, but this is really saying, especially starting, and then we have this whole process in the middle, and then we have this Two of Pentacles. This is really saying like opening yourself up energetically and considering all possibilities is necessary, and going through that internal process of, self-mastery and setting boundaries and mourning things that have to leave. That's when you can touch this energy of like, what's my choices? What do I want to have happen? What's going on for me in all of this? And that's really what we see here again with this Two of Pentacles energy. And just again, like you have choice and you have options are available to you, but that again starts from you like opening up yourself and being open to God's plan, even if it feels different than you. And again, this level of freedom that we talked about in the beginning with opening your reading, right? There's a level of freedom when you let yourself surrender to God's will and then decide that that is what you want to do and what you want to enact, instead of feeling like, oh no, I have to I have to get everything right perfectly, or I have to, spiritually bypass what I'm feeling, right? But there is this level of freedom here, and that comes from opening up energetically and telling a new story and moving through a lot of that, instead of, feeling like you have to completely only, it has to be this one path, this one way, this whatever. So I feel like with this new moon, you can think about what are ways I can let myself be open to new ideas, to new energy, to new things happening, instead of feeling like, oh, it has to be this exact way, but instead going inward for guidance, trust what's revealed to you, trust each step you can make, one thing at a time with that. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards. I feel like I've been talking a really fast group too. I feel like there's like, you're putting some energy on yourself to like rush, like to move through, like I have to decide now, I have to figure this out, I have to, I feel like I'm really getting overwhelmed by that type of energy. So just like really trusting, like, okay, can you slow down? Can you relax? Can you not, you don't have to decide everything right now, right away. Like, can you just be a little easy with these things? Oh my God. Okay. So, well, this is just what I was talking about. So we have listened to the inner voice. This is your oracle cards. Okay. So we've listened to the inner voice. So again, I feel like this is really, really reflective of this Four of Swords here, of just like, there is so much inside of you, the guidance that's there that can come out for you. And again, this Four of Swords is really about like going inward, listening to the guidance, being open to the guidance, even if it's totally different than what you thought you wanted, what you thought was your mind was doing, what you thought was, whatever. So listen to the inner voice is really about like listening to your inner voice. Okay. Trusting yourself, trusting the guidance. And that inner voice is different than the ego voice that says it has to be this thing and this exact way. Right. And then this is really, well, we'll start with this one. Okay. Then we have, okay, yeah, I want to do this one. So we have adaptation. So this is again trusting that like even if you hear guidance that isn't what you were attached to or what you thought it had to be this exact way, this exact thing, this whatever, adaptation is a reminder that you can grow and change, you can be different, you can allow different things in your life to be different things, and you can trust yourself. Like again, this level of freedom, part of freedom is like the ability to adapt, to choose different, to have different things in your life, to you don't have to like replay, this is how I was my whole life, so this is how I have to keep going, right? Adaptation is really about trusting when it's time to be different, to grow and change, to all of that. And this energy is really about again honoring the way your soul wants to grow and expand, even if it's not a way you would choose for yourself, right? And adapting to that, evolving into that, letting that energy be clear for you. And then these two cards together. So we have death, always a wonderful one. And then right into birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. So I think this is very coincidentally beautiful. Okay, we have death into birth. So these two things together. So again, we know that there can't be new life without death. There can't be, these things in our lives going on, like we're so afraid to, and again, this energy of like letting things go, choosing to be different, having a new type of thing, right? This level of freedom, we get so caught up in like well, if something has to die and leave, then oh my God, but there's always more life after that. There's always something that comes after that. There's always, another level, another layer, something else on the other side, right? Like death and dying and letting things go is like scary because we cling on. And again, it was part of us. And who am I without this? And what's going to happen, right? But when you do that, you create this beautiful space for something new to be birthed. And even what I was just talking about with adaptation, right? This new thing could be born, dreaming a new world into being, birthing new creations. It could be a version of yourself that you didn't even know was possible, you didn't even know existed, you didn't know could be something for you, so all this energy is really just a reminder that like there's always life after death, and there's always like, we go through these cycles of things dying and having to be removed from our lives so that we can grow and change. And it's not punishment, doesn't mean anything about you, right? It's just trusting that like our soul has a path and has a journey that we're not aware of, and it's up to us to really connect to that and really honor that without like getting bogged down of like, okay, this is what has to be, or it has to be this exact way, or whatever, right? This is just remembering like life, there's life, death, life. It's a continuous circle. Death doesn't mean the end, it's just a transitory state. And there's so many things we shed and let go and die in this lifetime before we get to the other one. And that is also freedom, right? Freedom is also trusting that you can get to the other side, or there's something for you on the other side of this transition. And then I just also want to point out, so this says creativity and this says birthing new creations. So if you are an artist in any type of way, if you make music, if you write poetry, if you draw, paint, make clothes, any type of artistry, this is, I think, a very clear sign to, it doesn't have to be a sign, it's up to you. But to me, if there's some creative project in your life that you've been kind of pushing aside, or like, I don't really know what to do that, we need you, we need your art, please, 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 make some stuff. Then we have obstacles or detours in the right direction. I love this card. I think this is like one of those really important counterintuitive spiritual insights that exist in the world. So sometimes we think, okay, if this is for me, then it will just all unfold so easily and there won't be any problems and there won't be okay. And that's true sometimes, right? But typically obstacles or detours in the right direction. Sometimes if we get caught up in, especially if it's like an old story coming up with us, right? Like, oh, I have imposter syndrome, or I don't know what to do, or I can't make this happen, or whatever, right? Those only come up when we're trying something new or different, or trying to get out of our own way. So obstacles or detours in the right directions, right? So you can feel within your heart if something is like a clear no, but most of the time when something comes up, it's time for us to go inside, to find another way, to regroup, to address these like limiting beliefs within ourselves, to develop, again, the self-mastery of inwardness, like we talked about. So if you're kind of like hitting some blocks and things aren't working right away, or it feels like, what's going on? This isn't actually, the best with everything. It's just a reminder that an obstacle doesn't mean you're going the wrong way. It just means, it's not our perfect, exact ego-free or ego attached way. Like it has to be this exact way for things to happen. This is just a reminder that things are how they are. And yeah, it doesn't have to be bad, it's just, and even this, mourning something that has to be like, oh, that could be an obstacle to some people, right? I don't want to feel that. I don't want to deal with that, right? But obstacles or detours in the right direction just means, it's okay for you to have some resistance or things to work through. Think about the hero's journey, right? There's always a bad guy to beat or something to overcome within yourself as you move forward along the path to freedom. Okay, I'm going to close this one affirmation card for you guys for group 2. I honor virtue. So really good. So again, I feel like another big thing here, again, just bringing the reading all back together, is just a virtue that you can have with yourself is like, you don't need to be mean to yourself. You can be kind to yourself. You can conduct your relationship with yourself with grace, peace, understanding, and all of that. And this is a reminder, like, it's really important to honor that. And you can do that and start with yourself. And then all of that will, project outward into other areas of your life and, help you along the way. And again, even this emperor energy of like living in integrity, living with good virtues, good values, you cultivate that within yourself, and then it permeates into, all these other areas of your life. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 3. So as a reminder, this is a new moon reading, so I'll be reading the cards in that way, in terms of like new energy, new things going on, all of that. So you all picked the card, the Angel Prince of the West. I create the reality around me with thoughts of pure love and goodness. Okay, so what I want to say about this is, first of all, I do not buy into toxic law of attraction. You create your reality, you attracted everything in your life. If horrible things happen to you, it's your fault. Okay, rebranded victim blaming is not something I ascribe to. It's not something I suggest to other people to believe in. It's not helpful. It usually does way more damage than good long term, right? Okay, so I create the reality around me with thoughts of pure love and goodness. To me, what this means is, for you guys in group 3, like, we sometimes as humans, we think, again, especially because of victim blaming and all this and how rampant it is in our culture, we think, okay, something happened to me, that's God's will and God's punishing me, right? This thing happened to me, and so that means God hates me, because where was God in all of this? But we get confused and we think that someone else's own free will is God's will for us, and it's not. Okay, this is just like, if you believe you can act from your own free will, then you have to believe other people can act from their own free will as well. And so creating the reality around you with thoughts of pure love and goodness, this is just a reminder that, like, you can believe that God is loving, kind, patient, gentle. And so when you really believe that, so many things just automatically like can't exist with that story anymore. So this card to me is really just encouraging us to remember that, okay, if God really is merciful, compassionate, kind, loving, gentle, all of these things, who I believe God is like that, then, the stories of, oh, I'm being punished, or, oh, this is so horrible, or, oh, this is whatever, like, God isn't there to like punish us with hard times. God is there to help us get through hard times. And so I think, this card is just group 3. If you've been, oh, I really felt it in my heart. If you've been going through a hard time, going through hardship, like, I don't know if you can see if it'll pick up, but this angel's crying, looks like a little bit, if you've been going through this hard time, just remember that, like, remembering there is pure love from God for you to tap in, to be this faith, universal energy, your higher power. I mean, whatever word you want to use, but there is this energy of like pure love and goodness that you can tap into, you can soothe yourself with. So if you are going through hardship, if you are going through a hard time, just remember that you're not alone, you're not doing it alone, and it's not to punish you, it's just to, hardship is part of life in this realm. We live in a realm that is messed up. A lot of messed up things happen, and there's not explanation for a lot of them. But, knowing we can tap into some of this kindness and loving energy is a reminder from this card. Okay, kicked it off with a little little intense group 3. Okay, but I'm gonna look at your tarot cards, and then your oracle cards afterwards. What did I just say? The Tower opening your tarot card reading. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, I pick my cards in advance, but I don't cherry pick them. So, okay, we have the Tower, not surprised. Then the 6 of Wands, and then the Page of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, King of Cups. I love the King of Cups, and 7 of Cups. I mean, again, I feel like this is just what I was talking about of the Tower and the 6 of Wands. So the Tower is, of course, it's a time when things have to be cleared from our lives. It's a time when things, we're really shown which things can stay, which things have to leave, which things are good for us, which things are not, right? So the Tower is this energy of like, okay, it's time for this different thing to be in my life. It's time for something to crash and burn and fall away. It's time for my old life to get destroyed so the new one can come in. So again, if you're in this transitory state, if you're in this state of like, my God, everything's going to shit, what am I doing, what's happening, like all of this, okay, then the Tower is really this energy of just like, you can trust that, like you can trust that, again, we don't live in this perfect realm. Things are not, I want it to be this way, so that's what's happening all the time, right? That's not how this realm works. And instead it can coexist with the 6 of Wands, right? So this, I feel like, is that energy of the pure love and goodness that this opening card was talking about, right? Of just like, you're going through this hard time, but there's a part of you that knows this is for your higher good. There's part of you that knows you will get through this. There's part of you that knows that there is a loving and kind presence with you through all of this stuff, no matter how insane and horrible and bad it feels. like in the moment. And so these two cards coming out next to each other to me signifies like this hard, challenging time you're going through is really connected to, these moments of like triumph and these moments of, like we learn through differing experiences in this realm. And that's like, if there's just one baseline thing of something happening all the time, like we wouldn't know the difference between certain things. And so this energy, this tower with the Six of Wands is really about honoring like the dualities and the multiplicities and all these things that can exist together, and really trusting that instead of feeling like, oh no, this tower is like, everything's falling apart, so nothing good can be happening, right? It's like we're so obsessed with it has to be my way and my plan and this way and this thing. And we know so little, like we're so limited. How many things do we think, oh, this could never be beneficial for me or whatever, and then eventually ends up like being really wonderful and amazing, so just really trusting that, and really trusting that, these things aren't in vain, and there isn't only evil in them, right? So the point of hardship is to get through it sometimes, and that's it, and just trusting that and trusting you will get through it, that things will change eventually. Because then we have the Page of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles. So this to me really says like Page of Cups is about like being surprised by something, especially like emotionally, and just being surprised by, oh my God, how did this happen? Where did this come from? What's going on with this? So I feel like this thing, whatever's going on, this like big total wipe away, rebirth energy, shedding, maybe something you thought you already healed, but you didn't, just this total like collapse of things. I feel like if you stay the path and you stay your spiritual connection, you stay connected to God and all of that, this Page of Cups energy is really about honoring that, and really about knowing, like, again, letting yourself be surprised by the emotional process, by the things you feel. Because the truth is, something happens and we think, oh, well, I know I'm going to feel this exact way if this thing ever happened to me, or I know this is what's going to happen and this is how I'm going to feel. Okay, the truth is we're not in control. First of all, we don't know what's going to happen. And second of all, we have no idea how we think or how we're going to feel once it does happen. There's so many times where we think like, oh, well, if this happens, then I'm going to feel like this. And then we just feel the totally opposite, or we feel a feeling we never felt before. Or we feel something that we thought was done and we had dealt with 100 times over by now, like it's not what it is. Like this Page of Cups is really about just really honoring, these surprise things that can come up for us, and what that means and what that looks like, instead of, being totally trapped in this letting there be room for some pure love and goodness, because maybe these certain things happen to access a part of us, right? Sometimes suffering happens just so we can see, okay, I can't rely on anything but God. Not that we can't rely on other people, but we have to be tapped into that. Or I can't get through these certain things without my higher power. And so what I feel like is that going into this Knight of Pentacles, this is just like, okay, I can do it. I can move forward. Knight of Pentacles is a little slow moving guy of all the knights, right? All the feet of the horse are on the ground, and it's slow and steady wins the race, right? But I feel like once you let yourself be surprised by these emotions, that's going to be the momentum to move forward. Once you feel these emotions, once these things shed and leave, right? Not just like the physical reality thing. Tower can be an internal tower moment. It could be, nothing in your physical reality could change, but you could have this total like, shake up and, what's going on like within yourself, all of these things. And so Page of Cups is really about honoring those emotions that come up and all of this. And then the Knight of Pentacles can be about, trusting that and moving forward and allowing these things to come forward for yourself in a way that, that kind of guides you in a way that maybe you're surprised by, or slow and steady, or there's a lot of reroutes in life with like this tower energy. And it's like, again, it's the divine grace of God guiding us like to have these certain things or have these certain experiences that we wouldn't have been able to touch if everything had gone our exact way and our exact belief of doing all these things. So this Page of Cups energy is, again, like letting yourself be surprised by the process, letting yourself create that open energy to see, what does come up, how am I feeling, what's going on. And then that Knight of Pentacles, remembering that once you feel these things, that's going to be the guidance to move you forward, right? And sometimes we can't unlock how to move forward without doing that. And then look at this. This is so beautiful. So we have the Page of Cups, and then we have a little bit of movement, and then we get into the King of Cups. So this is emotional mastery. This is like very, very high emotional intelligence. This is someone who You can see the water, like even this fish is like, what's going on, right? So this water is flowing and all that, but the king is sitting there calmly, sturdy within themselves, like very emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, very clear with a lot of things. And so this King of Cups is really about honoring that and holding space for that and letting yourself, we get purified through hardship and we develop emotional skills through the hardship of life. And again, life is not what we want a lot of the time. We have to deal with a lot of things that don't feel the best. But this King of Cups energy can remind us that we can let ourselves be purified, we can let ourselves be stronger, we can learn to trust ourselves, we can shed and let go of a lot of these things and develop that emotional strength within ourselves and that emotional capacity. So even if it feels like I'm never going to get out, I'm never going to get there, I don't know how to get to the other side, I don't know what I'm doing, just trust that every single step you take and every day you move forward and just getting through one moment at a time, all of that adds up and all of that contributes to this emotional maturity and emotional mastery that you have and that's going on for yourself. And that again is like you can touch and you can feel is for you and all of that energy. So again, this King of Cups energy is really just about trusting that and honoring that and knowing that this these things we go through in life, like if the point of life was just to like be a checklist of here's all my accomplishments, here's everything I did, okay, but in my opinion, and I'm going to assume you if you're watching my YouTube channel, is for soul growth and self-mastery. And so that only comes from doing these things that we wouldn't necessarily choose for ourselves and going through them and finding a way and keep going and figuring it out and doing the hard stuff and doing hard things and committing to ourselves and committing to God. All of that adds up into this, again, this King of Cups energy. And even then we have this progression into the Seven of Cups. So it's not the normal traditional progression, but how I'm reading it with the spread, the Seven of Cups to me really feels like you'll have choices, you'll have options. And I think, you can do this emotional maturity is you'll be like, oh my God, look at all these skills I've mastered through this hardship, right? Like maybe I got a little more nuance around like, how do I handle conflict? How do I deal with my own anger? How do I release something? How do I deal with forgiveness? So this to me, Seven of Cups, with this reading really shows that some of the emotional maturity you're going to develop and the emotional mastery you're going to develop is you're going to look back and be like, oh my God, look at all these things that I learned more nuance of. I learned how to trust myself. I learned things can be this, and this way, and all of this adds up. And, I feel like these cards are really just saying, the emotional mastery is not just a one size fits all. It's like these very nuanced, clear understandings of things that we just get more sharp and more clear and better at as time goes on, and really holding that and trusting that and creating space for that in these ways. And again, just like knowing that you will feel victorious because you have this beautiful, loving energy for you. And this will really, it will be reflected back to you in a lot of ways. And just trusting, again, what you're developing through these tower moments is worth it. You staying with yourself and getting to the other side, that's all very, very worth it. Okay, I'm going to look at your oracle cards now. Okay, so we'll start with this one. So we have fate, which is kind of what I was talking about with all of this, of just like there's so many things that happen to us in life that, again, we wouldn't necessarily choose for ourselves or we don't feel like is the most helpful, best thing for us all the time. But, fate delivers what it will to us. And so that's, I think, a lot of this tower energy is just remembering like, and every unideal thing that happens, because it's delivered to us, because it's fate, because it's this, you have to trust that the hand of God is in everything. And when you really believe that and embody that, it's easier to, it's easy to say, I have faith when everything's going your way, right? But when you really develop faith, that's when we can handle some of these situations that are, a little more challenging or not go our way, right? We can surrender to these things that are happening. So just remembering fate is there. And even with this little egg, right? Like it's birthing something new. It's something is happening from the situation. It's like not for naught, as they say. And then we have unbound. So releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. So again, a lot of times when things happen with tower energy, sometimes why it can feel so bad is because we are so committed to this story that we've been telling ourselves, or we have these ego attachments that we didn't even realize we had, or we think, I thought I had to get to the other side, or I thought this thing had to happen, or I thought like, whatever. But like when we unbound, when we disconnect from that, we see we have so much more soul expansion, and we have so much more clarity. We have so many more options for ourselves, right? When we unbound, when we disconnect, when we release these things that we've just been subconsciously replaying over and over and over again. And so the unbounding process doesn't feel the best, okay? But again, it's for our growth. It's kind of releasing some of these things. And that's why this tower energy can feel so intense, because it's something that we've practiced for so long, and we feel like is like, this is just who I am. This is just part of me. This is just what has to happen, So that unbound energy, again, is trusting, what's letting go, what's releasing, like all of those things. And then we have the supply is infinite. I love this card. I pull it quite a lot actually for the channel, but the supply is infinite is just a reminder that like, even when God takes, God gives to us. There's so many things that like nothing is the end, nothing is final. There's like things that can be developed from all of this stuff. So again, just really thinking about, you're surrounded with pure love and goodness. God's energy is gentle and kind and loving all the time. And all of those things contribute to us. And it's like, there's nothing that happens to us without some sort of like God's energy in it. Even if you just learn to be more kind, patient, peaceful, loving, accepting to yourself and other people, sometimes that's the only point of hardship too, is to like be kinder and softer and go through a hard time and come out like more gentle on the other side. So remembering the supply is infinite, like you can tap into that loving God kindness energy and just remember that, that's with you, even with all these hardships and things, that are going on. Because then we have invigorate. So again, I feel like this energy of just like, you don't have to, like, again, I'm not here to tell you to be excited about like a transitional time that you don't like, okay? But this is just, it can be invigorating to remind yourself like, I'm not alone, I'm on the right path, I know these things are adding up for me, I know I'm being taken care of, right? Just like breathing some gentle care, loving energy into yourself and your heart that you get from all of these places. So really invigorating yourself in these situations, and trusting that when you get to the other side, and once you hit mastery, which again doesn't happen or it does happen, like you realize it all at once, it doesn't happen all at once. Once you get there, you're like, oh, okay, that was pretty worth it. That seems like pretty good. Because then we have happiness is my birthright as your final card. So again, I'm not like toxic positivity, spiritually bypassed, okay, happiness is my birthright is just more about like, not this like mind numbing, whatever, unlimited happiness thing flowing to you, right? Happiness is my birthright is more about like, is like more contentment, more peace, small moments of joy, just remembering like no matter what goes on in your life, these things that happen, these hardships we have to go through, like you still deserve baseline level contentment, acceptance, peace with all of that. So maybe I wouldn't say happiness, but I think you get what I'm trying to say here. Just remembering that, again, the point of these things isn't to stay stagnant or stuck. It's to like be rebirthed and come out the other side and remember that, okay, I can get there. I can get to the other side. These things can be helpful for me. And that's part of, hardship is like you working through it and then coming out the other side of feeling joy, peace, contentment, acceptance, all of that. You don't need to punish yourself forever. You don't need to punish yourself for going through a hard time. You don't need to feel like, oh, I'm never gonna whatever get through these things because of this and this, right? So happiness is your birthright, and it is you deserve to feel some of that like peace, kind, peace is my birthright, contentment is my birthright. You deserve to feel that energy in your life. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you guys. What did I just say? I am accepting. Okay, so again, this is just what I'm talking about with this whole thing. I feel like, sometimes the fear of going through something, or the, can I handle this pain? Can I make it through? Can I do this right? Sometimes that blocks us more than just like, let's go, just let's get going, let's do all this stuff. And so I feel like, I'm accepting when you can really work on that, when you can really hold space for that, when you can really let yourself accept things, that's when you can move forward. And that's when you can accept, like the only way out is through. And as soon as you accept and you ask like, God, please make me willing, please make me accepting, please make me whatever, then that's when we can move forward. And again, acceptance is your birthright, contentment is your birthright, exactly what I was saying. So I am accepting. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.